Good evening and welcome to the first episode of Tonight at the Q. That's where I am. You are not, but I hope you will be someday again. And until then, we're going to be doing these webisodes. And I wanted to start off, well, by myself because we're not charging you anything, so I can't afford any payroll. But here I am. I'll have some future guests to tell you about later. But tonight, the music of Cole Porter, because that is the reason I found my love for American Songbook and cabaret. Here we are, in our 25th season at Quality Hill Playhouse. It's hard to believe, but we are, and here I am playing to an empty house, just like I did at the very beginning. But since then, you all have been so wonderfully loyal and generous, and we're very, very thankful for that, and look forward for the time when we can be together again. But until then, we'll enjoy a little music. Cole Porter. I wanted to start off with one of his earliest songs. It seems especially appropriate for everything we're going through right now. It's one of his early pieces called Why Don't We Try Staying Home. Since first we started out, we've simply run about, and life's been one long route unending. We're always closing plays or opening cabarets. It seems to me our ways need mending. Let's let the dressy dames with hyphenated names in search of faster games fly by. Content with being slow, we'll never let them know the nicest place to go is bye-bye. Why don't we try staying home? Why don't we try not to roam? What if we threw a party or two and asked only you and me? Though all the home folks that we know pay for it later in Reno. Just being still might give us a brand new thrill. So why don't we try staying home? Now, Cole Porter, his songs really are the reason that I found my love for the American Songbook and for cabaret. I was in college studying to be a classical pianist when a friend of mine gave me an album called Classic Cole by the wonderful mezzo-soprano Jan DeGaetani, a great champion of art songs. I've always thought of popular American song as our version of the art song. But it was Jan DeGaetani and her pianist Gilbert Kalish, and they did Cole Porter songs exactly as written, very simply. And that was my introduction to Cole Porter, which was perfect because I fell in love with the music and the lyrics and the double entendres and all of those things. But she did his songs exactly as he wrote them, which is the way Cole Porter wanted them written. Sung is the way he wrote them, because he wanted the melody as he wrote it and the lyrics as he wrote it, exactly what he did. Although he was not above writing his own parody lyrics. There is a wickedly funny and awfully naughty version that he wrote of You're the Top, which I will not share with you tonight. However, the next time I see you in person, ask me, and I will still not share it with you. But we'll see. But I figured since he wrote his own lyrics, and his friend Noel Coward often wrote lyrics for his songs, I'd add a couple of lines at the end of the tune that seem to talk about what we're going through today. Second chorus of Why Don't We Try Staying Home? Why don't we try staying home? Why don't we try not to roam? What if we threw a party or two and asked only you and me? I long to see by the fireside my gal with me sitting by her side. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, we tried everything else twice, so why don't we try? We have no other plans, so we'll stay in and wash our hands. Why don't we try? We'll do just as they say and have our fun 6 feet away. Why don't we try? Why don't we try? Why don't we try staying home? Now, I became enamored with Cole Porter, and at about that time, I was working with a singer named Deborah Osmus. Alton is her last name now. But she and I both had done a couple of cabaret shows together, and we both loved Cole Porter. And so we read all of the Cole Porter lyrics, more than 900 songs, in a wonderful book edited by Robert Kimball. He is a genius. I was fortunate enough to get to meet him years ago, but he has edited the complete lyrics of all kinds of different people, Ira Gershwin, Frank Lesser, and others. And he started off with Cole Porter. And that was his first book, and I read all of them. And we started writing a show called simply Cole Porter, which we were lucky enough to do here in the Playhouse before we were managing it when Theater League had it. And then various places, and finally off Broadway in New York. But there were about a couple of dozen songs we wanted, for which there was no music printed. And so we called the Cole Porter Trust, and they sent me a packet of Xerox copies of Cole Porter's manuscripts. And so I'm going to do one of them here for you now. This was a song Cole wrote when he was at Yale. You see, Cole Porter was born in Peru, Indiana, P-E-R-U, Peru, Indiana. And his grandfather, who was very rich and very powerful, wanted Cole to go to Yale and become a lawyer. Cole did not want to become a lawyer. However, Cole did want his grandfather's money. So he went to Yale. He did get a dispensation to have a piano in his dorm room where he wrote songs. And after only a year, the dean said, no law school, go over to the music school. But he wrote some wonderful songs, including Eli Bingo Yale and Bulldog, which are still sung at Yale football games now. But this is one of the songs that he wrote very early on, and I fell in love with it because it speaks to his and my athletic ambition. Now I'm in an awful condition, filled with a vaulting ambition. While I rave on deliriously, please don't take me too seriously. I merely want to say I like to shine in a physical way. If I were only a football king, I'd go punting around all day. Of every eye the apple, while wearing my Y to chapel. My talk would be so corpuscular, even my verbs would be muscular. Were I an oracular, very spectacular, regular football team. Now I know that I should find it heaven if I had a chance to make the Yale 11 with my only stunt to go around and punt the afternoon away. The sinecure of every eye whenever I should pass men, I'd open up and show my Y to all the underclassmen. For my autograph I'd charge $1 and it'd be the title of an arrow collar, such a very muddy, sort of very bloody, sort of awful thing. My opponents I should give a scolding that would make me rival Captain Jesse Spaulding, if they'd only realize that I am a football king. No. Silliness, but I love Cole Porter because of his cultural references. He assumed that everyone had a particular knowledge of things, and whenever I find a word in a song that I don't know, I have to look it up and find out its history and all that. And I insist the same thing from the singers with whom I work, and I learn a lot from Cole Porter. That first song, for instance, the dames with dressy hyphenated, the dressy dames with hyphenated names. I figured that was just some reference to women who kept their own names, but I didn't know why. Well, it's actually a British reference to what were then called double-barreled names, and women were not the only ones who had them. Men had them too. Andrew Lloyd Webber, for instance, is a double-barreled name, as is Riff Vaughan Williams and others. But it came because if there were a family with no male heirs, or men who weren't going to have children, then the woman would often keep her family name so that the family name would live on and she could then still have claim to their property. So that was why that was there. And the reference to Reno, divorces in Reno, I found that fascinating. I knew that Reno was the divorce capital, but I didn't know why. Well, there was a time when a woman, the only place that a woman could get a divorce, a no-fault divorce, which of course we know isn't true, somebody's always at fault, but the only place that they could go was Reno, where they had to establish residency for 6 weeks. So women would go to Reno, live there for 6 weeks, get a divorce, and it became quite an industry. because they had to have some place to stay and eat and all of that. And so it gave women divorces and jobs. It was a win-win. But he never writes anything naughty. He just puts the dots out there, you know. But again, cultural references and dots, like in Football King. I'd open up and show my why to all the underclassmen. Of course, my sweater is what I meant. I know that I should find it heaven if I had a chance to make the Yale 11 to audition for the football team, you know. Well, I guess they don't call it auditioning in football, although they would if I did. But it's a theme that he used more than once. In My Heart Belongs to Daddy, for instance, there's a wonderful line with great internal rhymes. Though other dames at football games may long for a strong undergraddie, I never dream of making the team, because my heart belongs to Daddy. Just fell in love with that kind of stuff. But Deborah and I went on, excuse me, Deborah and I went on and wrote our show. And since then, at the Playhouse, I've written, 3 or 4 shows about Cole Porter. And there's a song from fairly early on that Cole Porter wrote for the show Paris, one of his first big hits. It wasn't, it wasn't really a musical. He called it a music comedy. It was a play with music, but he wrote songs for it. And he wrote Let's Misbehave for it. And it was cut from that show and then added later to the revival of Anything Goes. But I thought, we'd do a little misbehaving. We're all alone, no chaperone can get our number. The world's in slumber, let's misbehave. There's something wild about you, child, that's so contagious. Let's be outrageous, let's misbehave. When Adam won his hand, he wouldn't stand for teasing. He didn't care about those apples out of season. They say the spring means just one thing to little lovebirds. We're not above birds, let's misbehave. It's getting late, and while I wait, my poor heart aches on. Why keep the brakes on? Let's misbehave. I feel quite sure on foot more would be attractive while we're still active. Let's misbehave. You know my heart is true, and you say you for me care. Somebody's sure to tell, but what the hell do we care? They say that bears have love affairs and even camels. We're merely mammals. Let's misbehave. Let's misbehave. Let's misbehave. Now, Let's Misbehave was cut from Paris during out-of-town tryouts. At this time, Broadway actually had out-of-town tryouts in Connecticut and Boston and Philadelphia, all over, you know. And Cole didn't think it was quite racy enough. So he wrote this next song that was a little more to his liking. Oh, look at that. That's been on there the whole night. But he wrote this next song. So I'm going to just do one more song. But we'll be back. Watch on Facebook and all of that, your emails and things, because we'll be doing more of these, and I'll have some guests with me from singing from their homes and some archival footage and some interviews and some very exciting things coming up. We'll keep you posted about what's happening here at the theater and when it's time to come back, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Until then, I do have to say that I'm very grateful. We're very, very lucky to still be able to be here and doing this in the midst of all of this, and it's only because of your generosity that we can. So if you are so inclined, and I think, well, I know most of you, and you are all inclined, but go hit the donate button and send a little something to help us stick around. I'd sure like to be here for you when you come back, and we'd love to have you back with us. We'll do one more. I'll do one more song, and look forward to seeing you again. Birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. In Spain the best upper sets do it, Lithuanians, and let's do it, let's do it, let's fall in love. The Dutch in old Amsterdam do it, not to mention the Finns. Folks in Siam do it well. Think of Siamese twins. Some Argentines without means do it. People say in Boston even beans do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. The chimpanzees in the zoos do it. Some courageous kangaroos do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. I'm sure giraffes on the sly do it. Heavy hippopotami do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Old sloths who hang down from twigs do it, though the effort is great. Sweet guinea pigs do it, by a couple and weight. The world admits bears in pits do it. Even Pekingeses in the Ritz do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. The dragonflies in the reeds do it. Sentimental centipedes do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Mosquitoes, heaven forbid, do it. So does every katydid do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. The most refined ladybug does it when a gentleman calls. Moths in your rugs do it. Well, what's the use of mothballs? Penguins in flocks on the rocks do it. Even little cuckoos in their clocks do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Cole Porter sometimes wrote parody lyrics to his own songs and to Noel Coward's songs, and sometimes Noel Coward would write lyrics to his. And so all of those words were Cole's, but now we'll do Noel Coward's. He wrote scores and scores of courses. I'll just do a few of them for you. Mr. Irving Berlin often emphasizes sin in a charming way. Mr. Coward, we know, wrote a song or two to show sex was here to stay. Richard Rogers, it's true, took a more romantic view of that sly biological urge. But it really was Cole who contrived to make the whole thing work. He said that Belgians and Greeks do it. Nice young men who sell antiques do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. In Texas, some of the men do it. Well, others drill a hole and then do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Each Miss Gabor, time and again does it. They keep trying, God knows. Lawrence Welk with champagne does it, but the bubbles get up his nose. Aretha Franklin with soul does it. Julia Child in a casserole does it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Miss America under the flag does it. The man from Glad with a little bag does it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. The Royal Ballet, to a man do it. Tinkerbell and Peter Pan do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Miss Doris Day, no, she won't do it. She thinks it offends. Franti and Taisha don't do it, or they're just very good friends. Snow White felt that she must do it. Seven dwarfs could only just do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. My kith and kin more or less do it. Every uncle and aunt, though I confess to it, I've a cousin who can't. I'm hoping I someday soon do it. Seems that most of you staying home do it. Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, let's fall in love. I'll see you next time.